There are over 13,000 cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! From dragons and machines to fiends and, well, anime characters. But some modern players might forget that Yu-Gi-Oh!'s earliest years had some serious roots in horror. I figured that since it's now October, why not look at some of the most unnerving artworks in the game's history? Today I'll be counting down my personal picks for the top 10 creepiest cards in all of Yu-Gi-Oh!, starting with number 10, Serpentine Princess. This level 4 water reptile has 1400 attack, 2000 defense, and kind of a bafflingly narrow effect. When it's returned from the field to your deck, you can special summon a level 3 or lower normal monster from your deck. Fun fact, in Japanese, this card is called Naga, a reference to the mythological snake-human creature from South Asian mythology. This was also the first monster in the TCG to activate an effect from the deck. Enough about the trivia, let's focus on the artwork itself here. Something I used to do as a kid whenever I came across a scary image was to stare at it long enough that it no longer seemed scary to me. And I definitely had to do that with Serpentine Princess. Something about the sharp teeth and that malevolent side eye gave me the serious willies when I was younger, but it's nowhere near the most frightening card on today's list. Despite all this, something tells me there's still someone out there who would say something to the effect of "would" or "hear me out" in the comments, which is why it's only at number 10. At number 9, I have Maniacal Servant, a level 3 dark spellcaster with 600 attack and 1000 defense. Its effect allows you to banish dark monsters from your graveyard to boost its attack, but only during your opponent's turn. Hailing from 2008's Light of Destruction set, this monster's artwork features a humanoid being with glowing red eyes and leathery patchwork skin. Some sort of magic red tendrils are stitching up its body, which may have been split down the middle. The Japanese name for this card is Servant of the Evil Maniacal God, which somehow makes this that much scarier. Maniacal Servant bears something of a resemblance to the villain from Nightmare Before Christmas. This is one monster I would not want to see at the end of a dark hallway, but I guess the same is true for every other card on this list. Number 8 is Kotodama. This is a level 3 Earth Fairy with 0 attack and 1600 defense. Aside from its unusual stats, it also has the interesting effect to destroy any monsters on the field that have the same name as each other. Even though this monster is Earth attribute and Fairy type, it looks like something straight out of a horror movie jump scare. It's literally lunging right at you with an open mouth and wide red eyes. The word Kotodama refers to a Japanese belief in the power of words and names, and it can be loosely translated to something like soul of language, power word, or sacred sound. This probably explains the monster's full body tattoos of what looks to be a bunch of text written in some unknown language. As scary as the artwork is, the implications of this monster's effect and lore might be even more frightening. Unless you have a super unique name that no one else in the entire world has, it's coming for you too. Quick, try hiding from it down in the comment section, and if you found this hiding spot helpful, you can just thank me by liking this video and subscribing. Don't get too comfortable though, because Dark Necrofear is up next at number 7. A classic monster first wielded by Bakura in the Duel Monsters anime, this level 8 dark monster is said to be queen of all fiends. It has 2200 attack, 2800 defense, and can only be summoned by banishing 3 fiends from your graveyard. When it gets destroyed by an opponent's card, it can come back to life and take control of a monster they control. A pretty scary effect for old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Necrofear only gets creepier when studying its artwork more closely. The monster itself is a bald, blue-skinned, part machine, part puppet, reminiscent of a Cenobite from Hellraiser. Perhaps even more disturbing is what the monster holds in its hands, a partially broken puppet or doll with a shattered head. Seeing this disturbing monster standing before a dark, blurry background is enough to burn it into the memories of anyone who grew up playing the game. It's impossible to know the intent behind those shiny black eyes, but that makes it all the creepier. The 6th creepiest card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Ill Blood. This is a level 6 dark zombie Gemini monster with 2100 attack and 800 defense. Its Gemini effect allows you to special summon a zombie every turn from your hand or any graveyard, but you lose all these zombies once Ill Blood leaves the field. There was a time when I probably would have rated Ill Blood higher on this list because the first few times I saw it, the artwork basically broke my brain. Ill Blood is a red-eyed, shadow-faced zombie with atrophied limbs, a prisoner's jumpsuit, and a literal ball and chain around its ankle. But of course, the true focal point of the artwork is the giant, smushed, bug-eyed face bulging out of its torso. Ill Blood resembles 2 OCG monsters that came before it who deserve honorable mentions here, and those are Gate Deeg and Ghoul with an Appetite. With these inspirations in mind, it seems that the zipper in Ill Blood's jumpsuit is actually a gateway to some other dark dimension. The facial expression of the creature forcing its way through the gate looks both angry and yet eager, definitely contributing to the overall unsettling aura of the artwork. Hopefully that ball and chain can hold it back just a little longer. As disturbing as Ill Blood is, there's paradoxically something almost comical about the artwork as well. The face that pops out could just as easily be something silly, even if it's off-putting all the same. But that can't be said for the next card on today's list, number 5, Tragedy. This is a trap card that activates when one of your opponent's face-up attack position monsters switches to defense mode, and it destroys all defending monsters your opponent controls. The original uncensored artwork for this card portrays a guillotine, as the card's uncensored name is Tragedy of the Guillotine. However, the censored version is somehow much more disturbing because of its implications. For some inexplicable reason, the TCG got this artwork instead. A blonde woman in a dark alley braces for something awful to happen. Behind her, a ghoulish being baring its teeth, pulling a hat down on its head with sharp-nailed fingers. The light of a blood-red moon shines dimly and casts sharp shadows on the whole scene. It could be argued that the uncensored artwork has some dark implications as well, but at the end of the day, all that's shown is a wooden frame, a chain, and a metal blade in front of a nondescript vortex in the background. There isn't even any blood or anything to indicate any violence has actually taken place or is imminent. I would argue the vibes are much worse in the censored version, which puts not only a face to the suffering, but a sinister face to the perpetrator involved as well. Whatever's about to take place in this artwork, the card name feels a little too on the nose. Returning to the realm of more grotesque body horror, we arrive at number 4, Necroface. This level 4 zombie has 1200 attack, 1800 defense, and gains attack points for shuffling banished cards back into the deck. The reason for this card's inclusion on today's list is pretty self-explanatory. It's a baby doll head infested with some kind of writhing pink tentacles. This alone would warrant an inclusion on the list, but it's a closer inspection that gives Necroface such a high ranking. The tentacles have some sort of bulging organs that broke the doll's face in the first place, lined with purple veins that we can only imagine pulsate with zombified blood. Not only that, but the face doesn't look like it belongs to an ordinary baby doll. Rather, its face is perpetually locked in a horrifying 1,000-yard stare complete with bloodshot eyes. Even though we can tell this is a doll, given the cracks and ceramic-looking edges, it makes you wonder if it got this face before or after this zombie creature took up residence behind its eyes. Perhaps it's the ambiguity that makes this artwork even scarier, since less is more when it comes to horror, and the fear of the unknown is the kind of fear that informs all others. We'll see that theme continue with the other cards on today's list as well, such as number 3, Sorcerer of the Doomed. Ah yes, Sorcerer of the Doomed. One of the cards that my parents saw and questioned if Yu-Gi-Oh was really a game I should be playing at my age, at which point I insisted it was mostly about dragons and wizards and stuff. Well, Sorcerer of the Doomed is a wizard of sorts, a dark spellcaster with 1450 attack and 1200 defense. It has no effect, just the flavor text. A slave of the dark arts, this sorcerer is a master of life-extinguishing spells. This lore is really accentuated by the card's artwork. The sorcerer himself is a wild-haired man with sunken red eyes, leathery, wrinkled gray skin, and a face that appears partially withered away. He wields a glowing scepter with a skull-like design. Lightning crashes in the background. But the most disturbing part of the artwork by far is the collection of faces around him. In addition to the green skull and the handful of faces that appear asleep or otherwise unperturbed, the expressions of the other faces tell a story. On the sorcerer's right shoulder, the red-eyed face with ruffled hair sheds tears of blood, brows furrowed in extreme fear. The blue face on the sorcerer's left shoulder lets out a scream of agony. The red face and red-eyed face, both of which are right next to it, wear expressions of rage. Another crying face below the sorcerer's right wrist quietly sheds more tears of blood, resigned to its awful fate. The others appear locked in screams of terror, crying out from the dark cloak that the sorcerer must have trapped them in. But that begs the question, what exactly are these faces? The faces of the sorcerer's victims that he's collected as trophies? Or has he trapped them in some dimension of suffering, allowing him to prolong his own life? Do these life-extinguishing spells somehow give him immortality? And if so, what will become of all these tormented faces? We can't say for sure. Continuing this trend of the horrifying unknown, number 2 is Outer Entity Azathoth. This is a rank 5 Xyz monster, a dark fiend with 2400 attack and no defense. On summon, it prevents your opponent from activating monster effects for the rest of the turn, and you can detach just one material from it to destroy all cards your opponent controls. Its effect alone was scary enough for it to be banned in both the TCG and the OCG, but let's look a little more closely at the artwork. It's a mess. The two arms dangling from this monstrosity are probably the most normal part of the image, both bearing 5 fingers with one reaching out toward the viewer, but the rest is body horror incarnate. Solitary yellow eyes peer out of this writhing mass of oily flesh, sometimes but not always paired with grinning mouths full of sharp teeth. Tendons and ligaments of some kind connect the monster's body in various places, sometimes dangling like loose wires. These strips of sinew toward the top look like they're being stretched taut, something that could only be excruciatingly painful for any ordinary life form. But that's the thing, we don't even know exactly what Azathoth is. Yu-Gi-Oh's entity monsters were inspired by the mythos of H.P. Lovecraft, known as the father of cosmic horror, whose notable creations included Cthulhu. Azathoth was one of his eldritch creations, an outer god that was the supreme deity in the Lovecraft mythos, also known as the Demon Sultan and the Lord of all things. Azathoth is chaos incarnate, which explains its incarnation in outer entity Azathoth. While its incomprehensible eyes, mouths, and flesh do make for a scary monster, there's one out there arguably creepier still. In fact, the last card on today's list is so disturbing, they couldn't even show you the full thing on the uncensored artwork. To get the whole story, we'll have to do a bit more digging. That card is number 1, Jowls of Dark Demise. This is a level 2 water fiend with 200 attack and 100 defense. Its flip effect lets you take control of an opponent's monster for a turn and even attack directly with it. Fun fact, Jowls of Dark Demise was the first water attribute fiend in Yu-Gi-Oh! This card's Japanese name, spelled out in Roman characters, is Xeno, and that's surprisingly fitting. What exactly is Jowls of Dark Demise? Your eyes are probably first drawn to the 2 yellow eyes staring back at you from the darkness, until you realize these eyes are actually inside a giant mouth lined with sharp teeth. But to see the bigger picture, literally, we have to take an almost creepypasta, internet urban legend, lost media style dive into the annals of Yu-Gi-Oh! History. The true horror of this card is only fully revealed in some old obscure video games. In Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelists of the Roses for the PlayStation 2, all monsters were given 3D models. Most of these models are pretty innocuous, except for the Jowls of Dark Demise. Its true form is revealed to be not just 2 eyes peeking out of a sharp-toothed mouth, but rather a hermit crab-like organism that's taken control of a dragon's severed, rotting head. In Nintendo DS games, the hermit crab's eyes, legs, and blade-like claws are revealed, as the dragon head has either shrunken significantly, or the crab has grown quite a bit after feeding on its necrotic brains. Listen, I'm all for sustainability and nature being nature, but this is a bit too circle of life even for me. There you have my picks for the top 10 creepiest cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Which card do you think is the creepiest? Were you surprised by any cards making or not making my list? Let me know in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic the Gathering top 10s just like this one. Thanks for watching.